Hi, welcome back to Chapter 20 of Pirates of Savannah, the audiobook. Please remember, if you enjoyed this, to check out lupolilink.com. Check out my other products or perhaps buy the book. Help me fund these free audios. Thanks.
Chapter 20 Secrets. Patrick woke from his post-coitus nap, holding April's head on his chest. Wife, I think it is best I meet my daughter. I could also eat a whale. I have so many questions, like how the hell did you end up with Seamus on your barkie? Patrick's numerous questions were interrupted by a knocking on the door. A woman's voice yelled through the door. Captain, we need to set up the dining table now for your dinner. Very good. 1 minute, April yelled back. Get dressed, husband. I'm having a private dinner party, and all your questions will be answered in minutes. Patrick dressed as instructed and opened the door. Some exotic-looking crewmen rearranged the captain's quarters so a dining table could fit. He watched as Isaac and Garland entered and quickly whispered to them. By the way, I've been married for over 2 years. I'll tell you about it later. Both shot Patrick the devil's eye. He returned their glares with a wink and a giggle. The three took their seat around the table and watched as Seamus and Sam Scurvy walked in, joining them. Patrick's jaw fell to the table as he finally recognized the bow-legged man who was in the Three Lanterns pub. The voluptuous blonde woman in the yellow dress, who was with Sam at the tavern, also entered the room and shut the door behind her. The sultry woman took a seat, and then the captain sat at the head of the table. April returned to speaking in her harsh, common captain's voice. Introductions need to be made. This be me husband, Patrick, his sister, Garland, and Isaac Schwartz. Over there is Seamus, Sam, and Miss Darden. Miss Darden be me whoremaster, and she be running all me business interest at the brothel during me absence. She be the bottom girl or second in charge. The whoremaster can handle any questions or concerns you might have about the whores. Patrick spoke up. Whores? There's more women on board than you two? There be 8 other prostitutes on board, and some children, she responded. Children? And women? What kind of crew are you running here? I've never heard of such craziness, her husband responded. Listen to this, Patrick Sky. Seamus chuckled at his own joke. You should see all the damn cats she's got running around here, too. All of them black. I lost count after 15. Do you want to curse this vessel, Irishman? The captain responded. Custom dictates you must have a black cat for every woman's soul on your barkie. Do you want to tempt the fates and not honor tradition? Captain April Sky, I have seen 1 black cat, to assure safe return, but I never heard of 1 per lady. Methinks you just be making your own customs up, Seamus challenged. This is sea law, Seamus read. Now you best be minding it before I order the Jew to knock out your last few teeth, she snapped. The captain continued. Tonight, I'm going to be telling you about me past, and what I tell you never comes off your tongue, or your tongue will come off. I am telling you this because I want to make you an offer when I'm finished. But first, me husband is dying to ask you 2 crewmen some questions. Patrick impatiently asked, Seamus Red, you bastard who never dies, how the hell did you end up serving on the Robin again? Well, I don't really serve on it, lad. I own it. He smiled a toothless grin. He spun his wide tail. You remember when I last saw you that the Captain Gibbons double-crossed us and added more years to our indentured service. This pissed on me last nerve, and I decided I was done being another man's slave. I gathered all the silver I won at dice and sealed it in a barrel. I did not know that Captain would soon be helping me escape by throwing me treasure barrel in the drink for me. When he ordered those 2 man-humpers flogged and cast overboard with me barrel of silver tied to them, I knew it was time to make me escape. As the crew ran over to the starboard side to watch the cock lovers float away, I slipped over to the larboard side, and no souls noticed. I stayed under the drink for as long as I could while the robin sailed away. Then I swam over to the ass rammers and untied them. The two were so weak that I helped them from drowning while the tide carried us to shore. When we were beached, I helped clean the canyons that had been carved into the backs by the keyholing. I felt bad for the cock munchers and nursed them back to the living. When they were healed, they were so grateful that they've been helping me ever since. The man-lovers were dumbstruck when I pried open the barrel and took me booty of silver out. Seamus smiled as he drank a swig of rum. I'm surprised you would ally yourself with men so impure in God's eyes, Garland injected. I don't have the same problem as Jesus has with them. As long as it doesn't affect me coin pouch or me freedom, I don't give a pelican shit who they be fucking. Seamus spouted as he started drinking again. The door opened up, and an attractive whore turned ship's cook walked in. Lads, this be Teresa, the scullery wench. She be Italian or Greek or something. All I know is I can't understand a damn thing she says, but she does make some great food. I also give her work because I like the way she be looking when she bends over to set out me food. Seamus grinned. Teresa then delivered the food to the table, and the men did indeed predictably ogle her. How did you come on to owning the Robin? Patrick inquired. The Irishman took the rum down to his lips. After a very difficult journey, we boarded at a room in Charlestown. I soon discovered a lovely pub called the Pink House Tavern. They toss ropes over the sea walls so we can sneak into the city for some food and pleasures. They get some decent women there too, but fucking on those little pads with only a blanket hanging between me and me whore, and the whore and her sailor next to us was a wee bit awkward. It be tight quarters, and this tiny building they make the most of it, with a whore on every speck of the floor. Shite! I remember having to cram into a small space in the roof every time the city watchman would come by, looking for trouble. Damn self-righteous men of piety. We know good and damn well that they be getting a good fuck once in a while too in exchange for looking the other way. Well, the tavern hosted the most fantastic games of liar's dice. I quickly found I had a gift for throwing bones. You mean you have a gift for lying? April injected. Well, yes, that too. The toothless man laughed. I built a vast fortune of winnings, but I lost it. I admit, we did return to Savannah once. I was having a spell of bad luck and needed some more capital. The Manshaggers and myself heard rumours that Oglethorpe had a very expensive silk winder just sitting in the trustee's garden unwatched. Normally, I don't go making a habit of stealing somebody else's things, but I figures Oglethorpe paid for it by stealing the local silvers that were forced to pay through taxes. I guess we liberated the winder and gave it back to the people who paid for it, for a small fee, of course. He shot a toothless grin across the table. He continued, After we sold the governor's prize toy, we came back to Charlestown. We stayed in that town for 2 years, amassing a good amount of colour from gambling. It was about last month when the locals finally got upset over losing so much they accused me of cheating. They ran me out of town and we fled back to Savannah. We arrived in Savannah about a month ago, and to my surprise, the Robin was in port. I marched right up to the angry Captain Gibbons and offered him my winnings for the ship. The greedy bastard immediately took the gold and retired to a life of high society. It is all that captain ever wanted. I mean, look how he dressed and talked like a dandy. Seamus paused to take another swig and a bite of fish. April Sky immediately knew about the purchase and came to me asking if I wanted to hire her as a captain. I thought there'd be no way a woman would be captain in my ship, until I found out who she really was. Once I knew the truth, I'd be a fool not to take her on. Many of the crew left because they would not sail under a woman, but a few remained. You will see a few familiar faces of the Robin's crew topside. And of course, a whole lot of horrors, God willing. Seamus smiled. April interrupted to change the line of conversation. I found out from Whoremaster Darden about Archibald's grim fate, and how your group of friends are now known men. We've been trying to locate you since then. That treacherous bartender, Jim Jacks, betrayed our trust and drugged you with high amounts of laudanum in your rum so he could collect a bounty. You were only minutes away from having your neck stretched by redcoats when Sam and the Whoremaster summoned help. 15 crew members dragged you to the docks through secret pirate smuggling tunnels we had built below the pub a few years back. It was a good thing Sam recognized who you were. Actually, he recognized Isaac. Pretty hard to disguise a hulking Jew of that size. We smuggled your bodies on the ship and cast off at night. Patrick, I found your gold hidden in your pants while you were sleeping. She grinned. Isaac interjected.
Sam, you still have time left on your indentured hood. How goes you serve on this ship?
I purchased me freedom early thanks to a large, gray, stinky, waxy ball I found while fishing.
Sam Scurvy proudly stated. I don't understand. Why would someone pay you for wax? Patrick stated in confusion.
You really are the worst sailor ever, lad. He's talking about whale vomit from a sperm whale, you sheepfucker.
Seamus interrupted.
That's correct. A huge, stinking ball of ambergris is worth more than its weight in gold. It seems it smells very sweet as it ages, and the ladies of high society pay a fortune for the perfumes made by it. The smell from it is supposed to keep the Black Plague from taking hold of you as well, matey. I was blessed to recover such a rare find.
The bow-legged sailor grinned.
Then he runs into me at the docks, and I offer him a job as sailing master. Sam has proven himself one hell of a navigator. Now, if we could only find Jessup, we'd have the whole criminal gang again.
The sunburned Irishman chimed in.
Sam answered, Last I saw him was about 3 years back. He was making a good amount of silver as bonuses, killing those whales. I heard rumor he was lost at sea, killed by an angry right whale he was trying to spear. But that could just be a story. Who knows the truth?
Right whale? Patrick questioned.
Arr! When you hunt a whale, most will sink when you spear them. They are the wrong kind of whale to harvest. The large Ballantine whales are the right ones to harpoon. They float to the surface right after they die, and are easy to tow in.
The fisherman explained.
Sam offered a toast. Here's to Jessup, wherever he may be. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
The table repeated as they drank. Next, Garland told her sad tale, and even shared the details of poisoning her captors.
Remind me never to take a drink from you, lass,
Seamus taunted.
Keep your cock out of me and we won't have to worry about it,
she snapped back. Isaac and Patrick recounted their complicated stories next. The table was surprised how many adventures and near-death experience the two had already been through in such a short time. Miss Darden then explained how she made her fortune throwing private parties and secret orgies for the elite socialites of Savannah. She seemed to know everything about everyone and was an endless fountain of knowledge about Savannah's comings and goings. She bragged that her job really was to keep her mouth shut. The curvy blonde had scandalous dirt and gossip on everyone in that town. April employed her to run the whores and keep them safe. She said she was threatened with murder many times for the secrets she kept and did not feel it was safe to live in Savannah anymore. She shut down the Red Lady, and 8 of the prostitutes came with her to the Robin. Now that all of our dirty secrets are out, tell me, wife, who are you really? Patrick asked. The room quieted, and the diners pulled their seats closer to hear every word.
Let me tell you what I've been up to, me wolf, since we last sailed. We sold the cannons to some Spanish and French privateers, and even made enough profit to keep a few. We mainly been running rum since that large sale, except, of course, when we ruined Oglethorpe's siege of St. Augustine. If he knew it was my ships that ran the blockade and resupplied the Spanish town, all of us would have walked the plank. Anyways, that is not why I had this meeting. We need to discuss more important matters. Her mood darkened and her tone grew serious.
April began.
A few of you know my real name and a little about me, but none of you know my whole story. I'm going to tell you only because you need to know the truth for what I'm about to ask you.
The captain first explained that all the diners would need to learn a little about pirating history to understand all that she was about to tell. She explained England, Spain, and France all used privateers to attack each other. It was legalized pirating as long as no one did attack their own country's vessels, and the government would ignore their murder and stealing. For years, privateers attacked each other and made fortunes. When the countries made peace, they officially ended their privateer programs. This left many privateers out of work. They were addicted to the lifestyle and the fast gold and would not stop. The successful privateers took to pirating. She reminded them, now when people look back, they always forget that those governments created this problem. Foolish wars and policies gave birth to the scourge of the seas. One of the most famous pirates was Calico Jack Rackham. Like most pirates of the time, he harbored at Nassau, New Providence, a villainous den of ill repute April wistfully stated she missed. A rich daughter of a South Carolina plantation owner lived in Nassau at the time with her ex-pirate husband, who turned informant for the Redcoats. Her name was Anne Bonny, and she was a real daisy. Men tripped all over themselves just to get a look at her. While frequenting the pirate pubs in Nassau, she quickly found herself smitten with Rackham. Since she was still married to a man she did not want, Calico Jack and her ran off together and took to a life of piracy. So skilled at this endeavor, the couple made most of their fortune attacking other pirates. April continued her history lesson by explaining, in June 1719, the pirate couple boarded a Dutch merchant ship, and the Dutch crew surrendered without much fight. All surrendered except for one brave soul who would not drop his sword. Jack was impressed with this display of courage and asked the soldier to join his crew and pirate with them. The soldier agreed and proved himself an excellent swordsman and sailor. That brave soul was named Mark Reed. As time went by, Calico Jack noticed Anne had taken a fancy to this new sailor, Mark Reed. Jack noticed them go off to be alone, and in a fit of jealous man rage, he broke into their tryst and caught the half-naked lovers in the act. In that moment, Jack noticed that Mark had breasts, and was stunned to discover he was actually a woman named Mary Reed. Reed had pretended to be a boy most of her life, and was a successful cabin boy then, later a soldier. Despite Anne's affection for Reed, Jack let her stay on the ship. It was even rumored they had a three-way relationship. Eventually, Rackham's ship was captured in Jamaica because Jack's crew was too drunk to fight. The women, so enraged with their own crew's ineptitude, actually attacked them before being captured. The whole crew was eventually put on trial in Spanish Town, Jamaica in 1720. All the crew, including Jack, hung, except for the two women who were spared leniency because both were with child. Bonnie and Reed were both kept in a Jamaican jail while they delivered their babies. Mary and her baby passed away during childbirth. It is rumored that Anne had her child there, and that her rich father somehow bribed someone to smuggle her back to Charlestown. Patrick interrupted April and asked, "Yes, everybody's heard this tale. It was indeed quite the scandal of its time. But what's this tale got to do with you?" April darkened around the eyes and projected a sense of fear into the room.
Husband, have you ever wondered how come the fact that I be a woman captain is overlooked and ignored by so many? Did you ever wonder why I can dress like a tattooed harlot and people still do what I say and respect me? Any other woman dressed like this would end up in the pillory or worse. I am allowed this freedom to be who I am because people fear the rumors about me to be true.
To be honest,
I did find the whole situation around you was out of sorts, Patrick admitted. I am the last living pirate of those times still at sea. My true name is April Reed, and I am Mary's younger half-sister. I was one of the bastard children my father left in his wake. Mary knew of me and reached out to me when I was young. Before taking to the seas again, she married a nice fellow, and they made good money owning an inn located in Holland. He died young. She was heartbroken and went back to pretending she was a man, taking to the seas again. She sent me money from the profits at the inn and paid for my passage to Nassau. I waited for her and grew up in the roughest, most treacherous city in the world. She never showed, and I eventually found work as a whore and made a great deal of money from drunken pirates. I copied her ruse that she was performing her whole life and dressed as a man known as Albert Reed. When I heard wild rumors in the taverns that there were 2 women pirates on Jack's ship, I knew one of them must be my sister. I used my whoring profits to barter passage to Jack's flagship, the Kingston. It was January 1720, and Calico Jack had a small fleet of ships he captured at that time. They always needed able-bodied sailors, so they welcomed me aboard. Eventually, I was able to secretly disclose who I was to Mary. Only she and Anne knew I was a woman, and they never told a soul. To this day, it be a secret that only a few souls know. I only got to spend a few months with them, but Mary taught me a lifetime's worth of pirating during that time. I learned how to handle a blade, sail, navigate, and run a ship. I also did some terrible things that I spent my life trying to atone for. We stole from and murdered many souls in those short months. One night, while we were getting protective tattoos, she instructed the man to draw a strange design on the inside of my upper arm. Later, she told me she had stopped at an island and buried all her share of booty there. If anything ever happened to her, the tattoo would lead me to her swag. She shuttled all that heavy gold from the ship to her secret location in shifts. It took her an entire day to carry it alone and bury it. She knew she could not trust anyone. Mary convinced Jack to make me a captain of 2 small merchant ketches and deliver some rum to New York. I left at the end of the summer and said my goodbyes to my sister. I never saw her again. She and the rest of the crew was captured shortly after and died in prison. I carried on pretending to be a man and focused on smuggling. The governments that created pirates knew they had to clean up their mess, and a war was declared against pirating. It did not take long. In 1725, very few pirates were left. I turned over my crew and hired a new crew who did not know anything about my past. I hired Captain K.T. Brewer and his shady men to smuggle goods on these little vessels. We spent the next 8 years making silver any way we could. When the colony of Savannah came into being, it was my opportunity to settle down and get away from the seas. I revealed that I was a woman to the crew. They had served under me and trusted my captaining for years, so after the shock wore off, they decided to stay on. They agreed to keep operating my ships while I set up a brothel in Savannah. What I quickly learned was how much I hated living under the rules of others. After years of living free, it was neutering to set up in a town under British control. I quickly realized I had made a mistake, but I had to earn enough gold to get a proper ship to live the rest of my years on. Unfortunately, the wind be blowing me about in circles. All the gold I make seems to go to all my employees' living needs and such.
The group at the table looked around in stunned amazement at each other. The tale they had just heard was hard to believe, but plausible. It did fit many puzzle pieces together in Patrick's mind. That was an unbelievable tale, wife. So, what does this have to do with you asking us for something? Patrick queried.
I am not so much asking you a question, but making you men an offer. All of you have been victims of kings, rulers, government, and other masters. I had a vision and a dream to make a vessel where all society's outcasts can live free. People are not pressed into service or purchased. They are free to come and go at any time. Those who choose to make a life on this ship can live however they please as long as they do not use force, threats, or violence on another. I want a place to live without an authority telling you how you must live. A place where all deals are made with each other in a peaceful and voluntary manner. We will use the teachings of the Freeman Society and have our own culture based on individual freedoms and liberty. Here, you'll only have to answer to yourself. Lads, I offer you the opportunity to join this crew and help me build this vision into a fleet of freedom.
The men were taken back by this bold offer and thought long and hard until Garland finally spoke up.
Are you not worried that if all the troublemakers live together in one place, that it'll just make it easier for the British to kill us all? Darling, you're under the illusion that they can't round all of us up now, one by one, and kill us all at any time they desire. I do not want to live in a life of fear. I'd rather be with the company of other like-minded people and enjoy my days. If the British come for us, they come. At least I live free until then.
Well, it is a great offer. What other realistic choice do we have since we are known men? There are very few places we can live without fear of death and the government stalking us. I accept your offer, but I do have to go give my gold to Archibald's family and ask them to join us, Patrick answered.
Garland is right about one thing. Having an inexperienced crew would make us an easy target for privateers. We need a more formidable vessel and more crew to live safely in these waters.
April continued.
I might know a ship that could work, but we're going to need a pile of gold to buy her.
Sam spoke up.
If I could only find the gold Mary left me, we could buy the ship and then some. If I could only figure out what this damn tattoo means. I've studied it for years and gotten nowhere.
The tattooed captain sighed in frustration. Miss Darden calmly cut in.
Captain, I've not had time to tell you until now, but my sources finally revealed a name.
April's eyes lit on fire and she shot up from her chair.